A very warm welcome, ladies and gentlemen, and a new edition of Today's Youth. In today's edition, we will be talking about Italian art, and we'll be meeting with one of the Italian directors here in Egypt. And the event is organized by the European Union Cultural Center right after this short break. On festivals and art events in Europe at the European Union National Institute for Culture, with the aim of sharing European expertise in festival management and a chance for cultural exchange between Egypt and Europe. The Italian Cultural Institute presents Silvia Bottirolli, the artistic director of the Sant'Arcangelo Festival. The festival's first edition was in 1971 and aims at emphasizing the importance of art, theater on the social and political level. The festival takes place in Sant'Arcangelo in Italy. Welcome back, and we're glad to be joined today by Silvia Bottirolli, Italian Artistic Director. Many thanks for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
Before we start talking about why you're here in Egypt and your artistic career as a director, I would like you first to tell me more about yourself, about your education.
Yes, sure. My education is in theater and dance studies in Italy, where I first studied in Torino and then got a PhD in visual and performing arts in Pisa, focusing in particular on contemporary theater and its collective dimensions, meaning collective creation, but also the political dimension and the relation between the theater and the spectators. In my background, I also have a very important experience within a European project called SPACE, Performing Arts Managers on the Move. It was a training program based on mobility for 15 performing arts managers all over Europe.
Right.
And after that, I started working in the field of contemporary theater and dance, first with some artists and theater companies, among which the Societas Raffaello Sanzio, which is a very well-known European company now. And then I joined the Sant'Arcangelo Festival a few years ago.
Right. Italy is a very well-known country for its cultural heritage. Would you please tell me more about the Italian cultural heritage and how does it affect you as an artist?
Yes, for sure. Italy has a huge artistic and cultural heritage. I would say that this affects the artistic and cultural life of the country very much, especially because as a country, Italy is very much focused on the conservation of the past, having such a great heritage. And this also raises a question, I think, about the relation between the past and the contemporary art, for example. Of course, heritage is also a very important touristic element in Italy, and also a very strong identitarian element, I would say. Italy is quite a complex country and also very diverse, and this diversity is also made by historical and cultural heritage that we share.
Right. How does such a heritage affect the social, political, and economic life in Italy?
Yes, I would say that economically the heritage is quite important in relation to international tourism, of course. And at the same time, I would say that in general, as a country, we are not, let's say, valorizing so much the heritage we have, which is really extraordinary, as you know. And of course, it's also having such a big heritage affects a lot of cultural and social life, for sure, I would say. Even if I think we also would need to be a little bit more aware of our history and also the relation between this history and the contemporary societies we live in. That's how I see heritage also as an open question to today's life and to contemporary art and culture.
Right. I would like to know more about why you're here in Egypt. What are you working on with the cultural center?
Yes, I'm here invited by the Italian Cultural Center actually, and invited to take part to this series of art talks that the Italian Cultural Center co-organized with other European cultural centers in Cairo. So basically I'm here in Cairo for a few days only. I delivered a conference, a speech at a townhouse in the frame of this Arts Talk program, where I was invited to present the case of Sant'Arcangelo Festival that I'm running and to discuss some points about the festival. And of course I also took the chance to meet with some colleagues and artists here.
How was your experience here, and how were you? Tell me more about your experience with Egyptians here in this field.
Yes, unfortunately my experience is very short and very little at the moment, but I had the chance to meet a few people working here, both independent artists that I'm quite interested in, and colleagues, meaning people who are running art organizations, and also people working in European cultural institutes in the city. The first impression that I can have is that Cairo is an extremely lively city, also very complicated and contradictory, I feel, but really vital, really vibrant also. This is the first impression, at least, that I could get from the people that I met.
Right. This is your first visit to Cairo, right?
Yes, it is.
Yes. Did you see any touristic places? Did you go to any touristic places?
Yes. Just a couple, unfortunately, but I could visit the Giza pyramids and the big Egyptian museum.
Right. How do you see the culture here in Egypt? How do you see the Egyptian culture could affect art in Egypt?
Well, in some respects, I think that Egypt shares with Italy this fact of having such a huge and amazing cultural heritage and such an amazing history, and also a contemporary art and cultural production that seems to be very lively, and perhaps that could also be supported more, or would also need more platforms to express and to find a place, which is normally a problem, I think, or an issue when countries have such a big heritage and history behind.
Right. You told me you've been to the pyramids and you've been to the Egyptian Museum.
Yes.
So you've been exposed to the pharaonic history and the pharaonic heritage. How do you see this pharaonic heritage and its effect? How could be its effect on Egyptian art?
That's a good question.
Or on an artist in general?
Yes. But you know, it's amazing, and being exposed to these places and this amazing place that the museum is for me is quite a big shock and a big emotion as well. It's what strikes me or shocks me the most is that it's really visionary. I mean, there is so much in terms of image production there, and a whole civilization there. So you can still read a lot from the objects or the monuments that you see about life and death, of course, society and individuals, and religion and culture. So it's huge. I imagine it's also a big source of imagination. That's how I can see it in relation to contemporary culture as well.
Right. Would you tell me more about Sant'Arcangelo Festival?
Yes. Sant'Arcangelo Festival is probably the most important performing arts festival in Italy, and for sure it's the oldest festival in our country dedicated to contemporary and experimental theater. It was founded in 1971, so it has a long story, and we are now preparing the 45th edition that will take place next July in Sant'Arcangelo. And the festival takes place in a very small town, Sant'Arcangelo di Romagna, in the center of Italy, very close to the Adriatic coast. Since the beginning, the festival that was founded actually by the mayor of the town and by an artist together. So since the beginning, the festival gathers together city, meaning also the political dimension, or the society, the community, and how people come together and get together. and theater and art as a way also to think about ourselves and the way we live together. So I would say this is the main trait of the festival, which is now very international also. So it's a platform where international and local artists as well can encounter a local context and can work with local citizens. And that's extremely valuable, I think, and very specific about Sant'Arcangelo, to be an art organization that provides conditions for artists and the local context to find each other and to work together and to think together.
Mm-hmm. Right. How long have you been working with this festival?
I have a long story with this festival because I started working there actually 14 years ago as a volunteer at the very beginning.
When did the festival start?
The festival started in 1971.
Oh, that's a very long time ago. And it's being held annually?
Yes.
On an annual basis,
yes,
right?
Yes.
Right, and you've been 14 years now with this festival.
I also worked somewhere else, so I moved, I started working within the festival and the organization, and then I moved to work somewhere else, and then I went back, invited to be part of a dramaturgical team, so basically to work the program of the festival, and since 2012 I'm the artistic director of that.
So you're the artistic director of the festival?
Yes, right.
What other festivals have you been working with? Did you ever work with other festivals?
In Italy, or me personally?
In Italy?
Yes, I've been working with other festivals in Italy. For example, with Vie Festival, which is a festival organized by ERT, which is now a national theater, so a big drama theater based in the same region as Sant'Arcangelo, based in a city called Modena. So this big production theater also organizes an annual festival called Vie, that I worked with a few years ago, curating some public talks and meeting with artists and some international programs of talks and reflection contexts.
Did you ever had a chance to work abroad? I mean, all your work, all your experiences in Italy, or you've been working also outside?
I've been coordinating an European network actually for a couple of years. In 2005, some theaters and festivals from Italy, France, Spain and Portugal decided to set up a new network that was called IRIS. So it was dedicated to contemporary theater organization in this area, and particularly interested in working within the Mediterranean area as well. I was the coordinator of the network for a couple of years at the very beginning of its activity, and then I decided to go back to work next to the artists and the production of art. But that was a very strong international experience. The main office of the network was in Paris, so I had the chance to work quite a lot in France, and also to work internationally within a network that was a very important, meaningful experience for me.
Right. Italy, as being a very artistic country, how many festivals are held annually in the field of art?
I really cannot answer because they are many. The festivals are probably the most lively art organization at the moment in Italy. And they started with performing arts festival, theater festivals at the beginning, but now you can also find cultural festivals, so to say, so festivals of philosophy, or literature, of science as well. Some of them have a more traditional approach, classical, let's say, approach, so they present drama theater or opera theater as well. Others are very much focused on the contemporary and the support to young generations of artists, which is also something that we lack quite a lot in big theater institutions. So festivals are also the context where you as an audience member can also discover something new. And that's probably why they are so lively at the moment.
Right. We will continue our discussion about art festivals in Italy, but right after this short break. Welcome back, and once again I would like to welcome my guest Silvia Bittirolli from Italy, an artistic director. Thank you once again, Silvia. I would like you to comment on the video we've just seen.
Yes, we just saw a short video about a project titled Art You Lost, and created by a group of Italian artists and theater companies, namely Mutaimago, La Casa d'Argilla, Santa Sangre, and Matteo Angius. So young artists who came together in 2013 in order to produce this project that we actually co-produced in Sant'Arcangelo during 2 editions of the festival, 2013 with what they call the préparatoire, so a kind of preparation of the actual installation, and then the installation that we could watch in the movie. Basically, the project took place in the elementary school of Sant'Arcangelo, where the first year individuals were invited to enter this space and to go through a parcours where they were invited to come with an object that was dear to them, but that they were ready to lose forever. Mm-hmm. And the whole project is about the idea of loss and memory as well. So in 2013, this installation collected memories, objects, but also short stories or advices or sounds or text, SMS messages, and so on, mm-hmm. by over 400 people. And then during along 1 year, the artists worked out this material, and in 2014 they reopened the school that had a completely different setup. Mm-hmm. And the audience could then experience all these individual memories that were also very related to the actual map of the town of Sant'Arcangelo. So people were also invited to write down in a map where they had an important memory. In the end, it was a big collective creation where over 400 citizens of Sant'Arcangelo and visitors of the festival could take part and share individual memories, just creating a big collective event.
Right. You've mentioned that during elementary stage, you get input from students in the elementary stage. I would like you to tell me when do you start teaching children art at school in Italy?
When we started teaching art, wow, actually I think we teach the history of art in the high school, mm-hmm. but we have art activities since the very beginning, like with kids from 3 years old on. They have mm-hmm. art workshops and laboratories. Mm-hmm.
And if a child has a certain artistic talent, how do you discover this?
Well, of course, it also depends a lot on the teachers and the schools, but normally this is discovered during the workshops, and sometimes workshops are also organized with artists who are invited to work with the kids at school. And sometimes